Why do I feel so anxious before going visiting? What can I do to reduce my anxiety? Well, I suppose it depends on whether you're the one giving the ang pao or receiving the ang pao, right? You know, while Chinese New Year is a great time for family gatherings, steamboats, ang paos, bakwa, and snacks. But I suppose it also means that we have to meet family members that we don't see very frequently, and there's a lot of questions thrown at us. So we hope this segment will be helpful for you.
I guess I'm supposed to take it. How do I deal with intrusive personal questions during CNY? Can I just ignore them? So the first thing I would do is notice how I'm feeling as those questions are being brought forth. I think it requires you to identify what exactly it is that they say that make you feel a certain way. Could be maybe I feel angry when they say that, I feel quite disappointed. After that, take a deep breath before responding, pause. Sometimes we think we have to answer the questions. We must answer the question, if not we will appear impolite. I think that is something I've heard quite often from my own patients too. I think first of all, we don't necessarily have to. It's not a necessity or it's a must. It is nonetheless important to remain polite, to have that social etiquette. So I sometimes will come up for myself a series of siam, I call it siam responses. So how you want to deflect or kind of just let the situation pass. Yeah. So sometimes, for example, people ask you why would you do certain things. Some of the responses could be why not? Yeah. And these are some of the ways to siam the responses.
Okay, next question. Alright, my relatives' passive-aggressive comments are affecting me. How do I deal with the negativity, and should I stop them from being pegro? All of us have some of this, isn't it? Well, I suppose probably one of the things that helped me is to be aware of how that is not within our control. So I kind of put my awareness and my mind to what's within and what's not within my control. And if it's not within my control, I will try to take a step back and not engage too much in that process. So that'll be the first thing. I would probably, if it gets a bit too much, I may want to try to draw a bit of a boundary. So I can do that by either deflecting and place the attention back onto them, like something like, oh, and so, how's your daughter doing in school, and how's work? Oh, I haven't seen you in so long. That's such a beautiful dress. Oh, do you want some snacks? Yeah, so I think I would try to deflect it, but if they keep crossing a boundary, then I would probably just let them know that, oh, I'm not too comfortable talking about this, or, I appreciate your views on this, and I appreciate your well-meaning advice, but I much prefer not to talk about it today, if that's okay with you. Next question. Why do I feel so anxious before going visiting? What can I do to reduce my anxiety? Well, I suppose it depends on whether you're the one giving the ang pao or receiving the ang pao, right? To determine how anxious you are. But all jokes aside, I think that visiting can be very difficult for many of us, isn't it? It's a small tight space with a lot of people, and there are a lot of expectations. These are family members whom, traditionally in Singapore, you probably have a lot of comparisons happening. You've got unfamiliar faces, you've got new faces, if family members bring partners and all that, you've got new faces. So it's a lot of people, a lot of conversation in a tight space of time. There are a lot of rules as well, isn't it? About what you should or cannot do, or cannot wear black, cannot this, cannot that, and you have to wait for the elderly to finish eating before you can eat. So I suppose it's quite appropriate and understandable and quite a healthy feeling, if you feel anxious going visiting. And what you can do about it is to probably ask yourself what is causing you the anxiety. Sometimes we may not even be aware that we are anxious, so just kind of scan your body to kind of figure out, oh, do I feel tightness of my chest? Am I not breathing properly? How am I feeling? What am I thinking? And if you establish that you're feeling anxious, then figure out why, what's causing it. If it's the people, then you want to kind of figure out why. What about the people? Is it because you don't get good vibes from this person? He asks you a lot of strange questions. Then you want to prepare, your responses before going. Or, a lot of us have not really been in big spaces with a lot of people since COVID. Be kind to yourself as well. That is really okay. Then you might want to break up the visiting, in shorter bursts of time, shorter durations, less visiting. Eliminate the ones that you can try to avoid. And then while you're there, try your best to have a good time, breathe a little bit, mingle with the people that you like, and again, it's the snacks, right? Like, go for the snacks and comment about how delicious the snacks are to get you going.
Okay. Preparing for big CNY celebrations is so stressful. How do I stop myself from yelling at others and spoiling the festive mood? Yeah, there are some people you really just want to yell at, but that might not necessarily be helpful. One of the ways to stop ourselves from yelling, and it would suggest that we're feeling very frustrated, very angry. So again, I think it goes back to noticing how you're feeling. It could be maybe you're feeling hot, maybe you're starting to sweat. So maybe put yourself in a well air-conditioned room first, and also pausing, taking a deep breath, regulating yourself. Sometimes it can be useful to have an anchor point. So what myself would do, I would find something to focus on. It could be an object, it could be something, a person's nose, for example. Just focus on that. And another way is to self-soothe. So how that might look like is sometimes just like caressing yourself, or maybe even like slowly pounding your heart to have that rhythm. So these are some of the ways to quickly regulate that very intense emotions.
Okay, next one. Are there any tips to prevent children from fighting during CNY gatherings? I suppose this is the same for like Christmas, Halloween, birthday parties, isn't it? Like when they have too much sugar, they get very excited. When there are a lot of kids, a lot of noise, they get even more excited, and then they get, like, this is what I want, and they start fighting. I feel like it's a bit of a rehash of my own home environment. But a few things that I found to be helpful. One is to actually prep my children before a party. So we talk about expectations, we talk about what behaviors are acceptable and what's not. So for example, heating is not okay. But if you have like a favorite toy, like a Chow that you want to protect, then that's not something that you want to share. Then it might mean that you don't bring it to the party at all. But if you bring your toys to the party, then you must make sure that you are willing to share them with other people. So we talk about some like rules, and we talk about like how to communicate your frustration. If you get angry that somebody is snatching your toy, what can we do? We can walk away, we can talk to a parent, we can just tell them, can we negotiate, can you play for 5 minutes, then I'll play for 5 minutes. So I suppose it also depends on what age group, but we can definitely prepare them before they go. And then also just try to watch their diet, not too much sugar, because when they have really too much sugar, they really become little rascals, and then it's difficult to manage the excitement that comes from them.
We hope this was helpful. Here's to wishing you and your family Happy Chinese New Year and 新年快乐，万事如意。
恭喜发财，身体健康。May you have lots of kindness and love in the year of the rabbit. Happy New Year! 恭喜恭喜！
恭喜！
Oh, the woman right